Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome back to the podcast. This is Two Bros, One Blockchain. We appreciate you for joining us. This is going to be our first episode. We did record some prior to this, but they didn't work out. We have some new recording software here, so hopefully the quality is good. Everything is solid. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about our highest convictions when it comes to the altcoin market. Now, obviously, if you're a crypto investor, you know that the last couple of days has been pretty difficult because we've seen quite a few big dumps. Bitcoin, even though it has hit all-time highs, is making the market kind of melt to the wrong direction. So we wanted to give you some of the altcoins that we're holding, give you some of the percentages in our portfolios so that we can be as transparent with you as possible, what we're doing in this market, and kind of from here on a weekly basis, give you updates on what our highest convictions are, what we're doing, and then kind of discuss the macroeconomics that are going on behind the scenes that are kind of pushing the crypto narrative along. All that being said, Alex, is there anything that you wanted to mention before we get right into it?
Yeah, obviously we're here on a red day. Little brutal. I think we're all kind of feeling it when we look at our portfolios today, but nothing that we're too worried about here, right? We're looking into some bad inflation data as we start to get closer to Inauguration Day here on January 20th. I think that we have a lot of exciting upcoming news events that are going to push this market higher. If you look at past data too from the fourth year here in the bull run, you typically do see January start off in a bad spot. So we're pretty much in line with where we think we should be. Maybe a little bit of a deeper dip than we had planned for, or in that term, hoped for. But overall, I think we're still in a really good spot to see an uptrend here. Hopefully, a bounce coming in the next week or so as we get closer to that January 20th date. I think there's no denying that we're going to see a strong pump going into the inauguration here as the markets start to heat up and people start to get excited about Trump taking over. Pair that with the fact that we just got the U.S. government got the approval to sell off $6.5 billion worth of their Silk Road, or their confiscated Bitcoin that Trump wants to roll into the beginning of our essential strategic reserve for the United States. There's a lot of other things that are coming into play, right? Texas, Pennsylvania, Switzerland, they're all talking about making strategic reserves. I think it's going to continue with Russia, China, and that rat race between the US and these other dominant countries that are all trying to make their mark and figure out how much do I really truly want to allocate to Bitcoin to stay competitive with their competitors, right? We know that China, Russia view us as a competitor, and they're going to basically follow suit, right? If Trump comes in day one and he announces a strategic reserve and he's going to roll all of that Bitcoin that they've confiscated over, states start making a push for it, right? We just saw some companies that are interested, some that are looking to vote on it, right? When that starts to come into play, it's going to, I think, really launch the market. And I don't think that we've seen any of that yet, right? It's all kind of that cloud above us, right? Is it going to rain, right? We see it, we know it's coming, we're expecting it. Sky's getting darker, right? But we all need that rain to kind of flourish what we're trying to grow here on the ground. And we're not going to see that until we essentially get that first big news event. And I think Inauguration Day kicks that off, right? I think Trump's going to come in. He's not going to want to give away any of his telltale signs on how he's going to launch the crypto market or how he's going to launch the economy. Because why would he want to give that to Joe Biden, right? Why would he want to give the Biden administration a pump on their way out? He's not. He's saving it all. He wants it to be probably one of the darkest times, right? Going into his inauguration. And then he's going to want to lift that market up and just launch it as soon as he comes in, right? Day one, I came in. This is where we're going. Everything's launching. Everything's in a great spot. Everyone's going to be super happy with their choice to vote him into office. So that's essentially where I see the market. And I think all of this right now is just kind of one of those events where they're trying to scare everyone out of their positions. It might also be paired with a little bit of market manipulation. I think there's no denying that market manipulation is going on at the moment. Everyone wants to scoop up that Bitcoin below 100K. There's no need to launch it faster than planned. But I think when Trump comes into office, right, they're trying to shake everyone out of their bags right before the market takes off. And when that market takes off, they know we're not probably coming back down below 100K unless we get some kind of black swan or major news event that impacts the global markets. But at this moment, it's just hodling, right? We're holding our bags. We're watching them go up and down. I know personally for me, it was rough. We were down, we chopped all the way back up. I was up a ton, and now we're right back to where we were a few days prior. So it's brutal. I think we're all just trying to last through it until we see the light at the end of the tunnel there.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it sounds like you're very bullish on the prospect we have here. I think if anyone has been around and was paying attention to the markets in 2024, there really wasn't a lot going on. It was more sideways action. We had some, 2023 going into 2024 was a lot of nice pumps, but then we consolidated. And I guess the real question here is, are we at the late stages of this bull market? Are we consolidating and then potentially going higher, or is Bitcoin distributing and potentially a lot of people are going to be hurt in the process? I think this is a question I know we both have, and a huge conversation to be had is that, is this cycle fundamentally different to all of the prior cycles we had for Bitcoin? And the conversation that brings this up is really because of the ETFs and the constant bid and the flow of money going into this asset now. Does that ultimately fundamentally change what we've seen? And I think we've discussed this before. I think kind of where I sit with this is, if you've watched Raoul Pal, he talks about global liquidity all the time. He'll show you the chart and he'll chart Bitcoin against global liquidity. And I think there is a case to be had where it's just very simple. As global liquidity rises and falls, so does Bitcoin. And I think that is how, at least I'm trying to keep it simple and play this market is, listen, we expect that global liquidity is going to go up in 2025. We were expecting, there to be a little bit of tightening at the start of the year, and that coincides with an inauguration. And it basically is suggesting that all of this was kind of planned or to be expected. But then we do think that global liquidity will see a huge pump, which will then, again, there is a delayed effect between global liquidity rising and Bitcoin pumping, but we do think that, Bitcoin will pump because of this. And ultimately, 2025 should be, a pretty good year. I think what, I'm definitely seeing the markets now, which is not the same as in 2020, 2021, is that, the altcoins, you have to be a little bit more kind of selective with the altcoins that you're purchasing or the ones that you're in, because not everything is pumping with the market. The altcoins are definitely dumping when Bitcoin is on a downslope. I think we really have to talk about what our main convictions are at this point in the cycle. I know Bitcoin has done amazing things in 2024 going into this new year, but in terms of the altcoins, the things that we really want to see go 5 to 10x, where do we see that capability or that potential right now? And is there anything really worth holding? So I think we should discuss that and then, go from there. So Alex, if you want to talk about, I'll get the CoinGecko up here so we can talk about what we're really looking for in terms of altcoins or your highest convictions here.
Yeah, definitely. And just kind of touching on what you were talking about a second ago, right? Overall, we are structurally bullish, right? We have not broken anything. There's no downtrend, right? If you're looking at anyone that's been in this space over this last year or so, if you bought in the summer, right? Look at XRP, easy money, right? You bought at 50 cents. It was sitting there for how long, right? And now all the way up to 250, right? And we've been holding basically 250 up to $3, coming back down, obviously, but Europe's still a 5x at $2.50, and we're hovering right around $2.28 here. I know it's been going up and down all day, but you're really in a strong structure here, right? It's not like this came all the way back down to $1, $1.20, something like that, right? We're getting a little bit of a healthy pullback. We got some economic news that's impacting the markets and all that. When you take a look at this chart, you have to be bullish, right? You had Brad Garlinghouse just meeting with Donald Trump. Obviously, we can see that Bank of America and some of these larger banks are taking on some major adoption with XRP and the RLUSD launch. With the entire wrap-up of the SEC lawsuit, I don't see how you can't be more bullish on this asset than ever before, right? This is the moment. This is the time that we've all been waiting for. We got a small pump. I know some are calling for XRP only to $5 to $7 this bull run. I know others are saying it's going to hit 15 to 20. I think my best guess is somewhere in between, right? I think if we saw a $10 XRP, we're going to see a lot of resistance, right? That's going to be a key level where retail, everyone's going to, probably have those sell orders in at $10. So you definitely have to be cautious once we get there. I think it's also a matter of how fast do we get there, right? If it's, May and XRP is sitting at $9, you probably begs the question there of, okay, do I need to sell when we hit $10, right? If it's sitting at $7 in the next 2 months though, then I think we're going much higher, right? So we're gonna have to obviously sit back and see what the market gives us. Anyone that's sitting here and telling you that this is the price prediction on this exact date is lying to you, right? They're guessing. They don't actually know what they're doing. If anyone knew where this market was going to go, then they would be a gazillionaire, right? So we're all just taking in the data as it rolls in. We're looking at the markets day to day, and we're coming up with that best case scenario for where we think the market's going to go in the coming weeks, so we can figure out where we want to go with our position. So overall, I think XRP, disclosing my portfolio, this is my biggest holding, right? I don't consider myself part of XRP Army, but I guess you could say I am at this
You're
point,
a maxi,
right?
bro.
I am a maxi, yes. Will take that title over here.
No, yeah, I think it's interesting. So for context, Alex tried to get me into XRP under 50 cents. And I almost kind of took it as a joke because XRP, at least from the entire time that I've been in the space, has either been under lawsuit or just this massive community of people who constantly are shilling this thing and it really not doing anything and nothing really coming of all of the kind of energy and kind of time being put into the project. But I think finally we've a lot of people have woken up to the fact that now that Trump is in office, and I think now that we have a pro crypto Senate and House, like you were saying, things change. A lot of things have changed, and XRP is actually positioned incredibly well to basically take over the payment rails for banks and its involvement with Swift. And so if in 2020, at least if you were following the Dante DeFi channel, we talked about Quant and all these other kind of derivatives that are basically working to do the same thing that XRP is doing. But now, XRP is positioned in a place where even at the massive market cap that it's at, it could still do incredible multiples. And I think I never really believed that XRP was coming back. But then this latest pump has really woken me up to the reality that this could go to, a lot higher than it's at right now. And I think the other thing to not underestimate with this play, and I think a lot of people who have been in crypto longer are really stubborn about it, is that there's going to be a lot of new retail, and that's what we hope, right, is that there's going to be a lot of new retail that enter the space, and XRP is going to be one of the first coins. It was one of the first coins I got into when I first got into crypto. I'm sure it's going to be one of the first coins that people get into when they join crypto. They might get wrecked because they might be buying the top, but the point is, if you're simply looking at trying to make money here, I think XRP is a good shout, even as a short to medium term trade. I have 10% of my portfolio now in XRP, where, like I said, when Alice was showing this to me under 50 cents, I didn't even take it seriously. So I'm definitely taking it seriously now. And yeah, I think it definitely has a chance to pump. I think all of this has to be considered in the greater economic sphere of crypto in general. And if Bitcoin starts to kind of waver, then obviously this won't happen. But I think you're seeing on the chart right here, if we go and look at the XRP chart, that compared to everything else in the market right now, that's basically going down 30-40% at this point, XRP is holding. It's not seeing that massive leg down, and it hasn't seen even really a massive drawdown since its all-time this local top right here. So I think it's just setting up for another massive move up. So yeah, XRP, keep it on your radar. Don't think that you're too good to get into it just because you've been here for too long, because I feel like that's what most crypto bros are doing right now. They think there's a better opportunity out there when XRP legitimately just went 4x in front of everyone's faces. So yeah. All right, XRP's, we've talked about XRP. All right, what is your next one, Alex, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I would say in terms of my next, I think Sui is definitely where we need to pivot over to.
Yeah.
We got into Sui back below, I think my first purchase was a little bit below 60 cents, and then I put a much larger bag into it around 85 cents. From there, right, it's done multiple X. So it's actually structurally, it's one of my most bullish plays, right? XRP, Sui are definitely at the top, right? My top four holdings are XRP, Ondo, Sui, Arrow, and Ethereum. And in terms of XRP and Sui, just the amount that they have pumped and on these pullbacks, the levels that they've held, it's honestly inspiring, right? How can you not look at this and say, hey, this is one of the main narratives for this bull run? I think that Sui has already done, a 5 to 6x from that 50 to 80 cent level, depending on where you got in. And moving forward, I wouldn't be surprised if we easily saw Sui go well over $10 to $15. That's obviously congruent with Bitcoin and Bitcoin breaking that 180K mark, which I still think is very, very on the table at this time. And in terms of risk versus reward, so Dante and I kind of have a little bit different takes on the market, right? And where we make investments. So I kind of stay tried and true to a lot of the larger caps, right? And then I look for those mid caps that I think are going to become larger caps. At this point in the bull run, we've seen things like Sui, things like Ondo, things like Arrow, right? We've gotten a good test of where they are going to go. Same thing with XRP, right? All the haters on XRP that were like, XRP is never going to break, it's never going to get past $1, etc., right? Well, you've been proven wrong at this point. There's so much coming for XRP, it's undeniable that buying it at these levels is going to make you money. Now, is it going to make you 3 or 4 or 5x from here? Is it going to make you a 10x, right? I don't think a 10x from here is realistic, right? You're talking about almost a $25 XRP. So I don't think you're going to get that. But if you are looking for that 10 to 20, 30x, then you're going to have to start doing a little bit more of what Dante is into, right? And that's finding things like virtuals. I know Pinlink, right? These are some of those plays that you're having a higher conviction in terms of having a larger market cap throughout this bull run, one that's going to give you that 10, 20, 30x. But what comes with that, right? A higher risk versus reward. So your risk is definitely higher in terms of finding that reward. You're going to make easy money, I think, on plays like Sui, plays like Ondo. They have their conference coming up on February 6th, where you're going to start to see major players, right? BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, credit card companies, right? Everyone's kind of showing up to this conference. It's going to be a huge, hopefully not a buy a rumor, sell the news event. Hopefully it holds key levels where if it gets above $3, hopefully it holds and come back down to where it is now. You never know. Have those stop limits in, of course. But overall, the risk versus reward on here is very, very desirable, right? You know it's going to do well. You're probably going to have a very, very hard time losing money on Sui, Ondo, and XRP in this market, right? Ethereum's up there, Bitcoin, right? They're going to go up. We know they're going to go up, and you're going to make a return. You just might not make that 10, 20x that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think it's all context on what kind of size, again, your portfolio is and what you're expecting. I think, being in crypto for long enough, that a lot of the 10 to 50 to 100x, it's kind of like a pipe dream, because probability is saying that you're not going to make that unless you're super early to something, and you basically have to be in the trenches all the time to achieve those kinds of gains, or get incredibly lucky. So Sui is another one. I think I did not get in as early as you, Alex, around $2, and it's just continued to go up, and it has become one of my biggest bags, not because I invested a lot, but just because it has performed that well, and that's usually a good sign. I think the market has showed its hand. It is suggesting that Sui is going to be one of those that could potentially run like Solana, especially if we get an extended cycle. So it's something to keep on the back burner. It has the network effect of being a layer 1, and if you are more technically inclined, you know that the Move programming language is something that's adopting a lot of developers. And so there's a lot going for Sui, Grayscale, large institutions, and already the VCs that back this to begin with kind of give it all this credibility that it's hard to deny at this point. So Sui, again, is another, I think it's over 10% of my portfolio at this point. It's done so well, and I think I'm going to continue to hold it. Getting in at $5 would be tough. I think it's harder to say that, the risk reward here is amazing if you didn't get in earlier, and that's just being honest. But I think that there's still room for this to grow, like I said, especially if it picks up traction, if meme coins projects with real innovation start launching on Sui. the demand for the token is going to skyrocket past what it has already occurred. Because to be honest, like the Sui narrative and the coins or the projects that have been built on Sui, it's not like it is of a majority mind share with most of the people in crypto. So that just tells you that there's still a lot of room to grow. So I know you touched on Ondo. That's another one we both hold. I do like Ondo. Again, this is another one that Alex really put me onto to get back into, I guess. I know the real world asset narrative is a big one this cycle. I don't necessarily think it is the biggest one. I think, we can talk about it in a little bit. I think AI is where I'm really, really putting my conviction, and I think it's the biggest probably like narrative we've had in crypto since DeFi. And it's going to eclipse everything just because of the fact that, artificial intelligence is also a macro, narrative within the stock market, within industries, across the board. So the fact that there is actual utility that can be created between blockchain and artificial intelligence, I think that's where at least my focus is. And I know we talked about a little bit about virtuals, and there's a few other, maybe smaller capped altcoins that we can talk about, but I do want to talk about Bittensor because I think even now, even where it's at, and I know both of us hold this coin, and we've been talking about this one since 2023. I think the first time we mentioned this coin was at $66. So it's done really, really well since then. And in terms of following the development of the project, if you're not familiar with Tau, it is essentially the layer 0 for artificial intelligence X blockchain, or artificial intelligence in a decentralized manner. The scope of the project is huge, but again, I think this one, again, if we have, an extended bull run or a cycle that really lives up to the potential that we're thinking of, I think 3.5 billion for this project is incredibly undervalued. The thing with this one, or the thing with Tau, and similar to that of like something like Kaspa, is these are fair launch, these are community driven projects, so they don't have massive marketing teams behind them, compared to something like Sui, where they do have a ton of VCs backing them. The momentum has to come more organically. So that's the one thing I'll say, and I think it could be the potential downfall of these kinds of projects. But I think specifically with Bittensor, I think this probably goes to $1,000 per coin and higher, and that is where a large portion of my portfolio sits. So I am not any less bullish on Bittensor as I was when I first bought into the project. I think potentially the market is undervaluing it. If you think of things like virtuals, AI16Z, which are two of the biggest infra protocols for AI, X blockchain, a lot of them are plugged into Bittensor subnets, aka subnetworks on the Bittensor blockchain. So if you're really paying attention to the details here, you look at the way Grayscale shows this thing, they definitely think that this is the next big thing in blockchain, artificial intelligence. So I think it's one to take seriously. And I know, Alex, if you have anything to add to that on Bittensor.
Yeah, so after Ethereum comes Bitcoin, and then the next one for me is Tau in terms of my portfolio. It's my AI play for this bull market, right? It's definitely, there's no denying that this is going to be a huge player, right, in this bull run. And I think that it's not listed on things like Coinbase, right? So if we can start to see it get put on some larger platforms too, right, that makes it the perfect opportunity at this time to buy this project, right? Anything below that 450 level, I think is a great buy right now. Obviously, do your research, right? As we're talking through some of these, you got to weigh the risk versus reward again. Again, we were talking about Sui, right? Below 60 cents. Buying it now at $4.50. Do I think it's going to do well? Yes. But I have already said that I don't think you're going to get a 10x from it. Bittensor is actually one of those that I do think can easily give you a 10x. I think it can give you more than a 10x, right? I wouldn't be surprised if it goes over 5K very easily throughout this bull run. I'm looking over here too. I was reading through an article earlier today, right? But they partnered with Flux. So you have Bittensor, right? Robust Web3 AI ecosystem. They're partnering with Flux. So it's kind of putting together that deep in an AI narrative together, right? So that there's some good partnerships coming. Obviously, you were just talking about Grayscale and how much they love Bittensor. I think that's where you need to kind of look at projects in terms of what is their potential to grow, right? We know that XRP, we know that Sui are going to grow exponentially, right? However, you're not going to see that 10x probably within 2025. However, something like Ondo, something like Aerodrome Finance, something like Tau, I think gives you that 10x potential. The risk versus reward is obviously higher, right? Look at this chart. We're fluctuating heavily back in, yeah, what is that, about around April? I think it was above 700 at one point there. I was really hoping at that time that it was going to, break towards well over 1,000, but it didn't. And it came all the way back down to 200. So if you had bought that top, you're wrecked, right? You're not in a good position. Same thing again, broke well above 600, pushing towards 7 just a few months ago there. Yep, 705. So we broke it. Again, if you bought there thinking it was going to go to the moon, you got wrecked again. You're sitting back down. You lost almost 50% of your investment. You're sitting, I think, at a comfortable level here, though. I don't think, unless we see some major news event and Bitcoin suddenly drops down to like 65, 70K, which I don't personally think is going to happen. I think there's too much buy pressure. If we see Bitcoin even break into the high 80s, I think it's going to get scooped up almost immediately. We've watched it time and time again. Anytime it wicks down, it gets pushed up very quickly. So with that being said, right, and thinking that we're not going to drop below that 88K level, right around $400 to $450 is probably the best price you're going to get, right? The best entry, which is why I'm saying that I think this is the perfect time to get into this project. If you're not aware of where you can get it, right, you can get on Uphold. That's where I have another wallet of mine. But yeah, before it gets listed on some of these major exchanges and keeps growing, as partnerships start to build, you're going to start to see more momentum form behind it, right? You already see Tau all over the place, Render, Fetch, right? All three of them I think are going to do very well during the AI narrative. We're going to see a meme coin narrative, right? We're going to see an RWA narrative. We're going to see an AI narrative, right? We know that these pumps are going to happen. The best traders are going to rotate in and out, right? They're going to rotate out of the top of the AI play, and they're going to move those profits into what they think the next narrative is going to be. For those that are entry level, though, you just want to buy and hold, right? You want to get in at a good level. You want to ride the ups and downs, not get scared out of this market, and you want to have a price target that you're willing to take profits on, right? So if you bought this today at $400 and it goes to $4,000, and everyone online is shilling you that it's going to 10, right? Which is what is going to happen. We know it's going to happen, right? When we go down, everyone starts talking about the fear of going lower. And when we go up, everyone talks about the hype of going higher. You do not want to find yourself sitting at 4,000, a 10x from here, thinking it's going to double from there, right? That would be naive. That would be a way to get wrecked in this market. And you can see that just from the way that some people probably got in below 100, rode it up to 7, thought it was going to the moon, and are all the way back down at 200. So maybe a 2x or less from where they were, right? And then at that point, you're kicking yourself. So you don't want to put yourself in that scenario. But right now, like I said, 3 major buys that I think are primed for a good run, have a decent risk versus reward, right? Not too much risk. Obviously, the risk is always there, but have a really high reward versus the risk at the moment. I would say Ondo, Arrow, and definitely for an AI play would be Tau.
Yeah, I think those are all solid picks. I think we definitely discussed Arrow at the start of last year as basically being the proxy for base season. I think the tokenomics with this one and the way it's performed is kind of annoying because it shows good momentum and then dumps very hard. But again, in a trending market, when Bitcoin is going higher, $150,000 plus, Arrow always seems to track pretty well with Bitcoin. And obviously base season and base in general as a blockchain has exploded. So that narrative is not going anywhere anytime soon. And again, if the market continues to trend higher, I think obviously Aerodrome is one of them. I think the one that we're in as well is Morpho, which is just essentially the base version of Aave. It's doing some innovative things with its lending protocols. And so that's why I really like it. I think it's at $3 now. It's only at a $500 million market cap. I think if you expect base to continue to grow, I think the leading protocols DeFi wise on the blockchain itself are going to continue higher. So you can expect maybe at least $1 billion from Morpho. So that would be, a 2x from here. And that's extremely conservative, to be honest, if we're saying that we're going to get a really big bull market here. So yeah, I think what else all right, we have to talk about it because I know Alex is not as big of a Kaspa guy, but I can't lie if I'm saying that I I'm not someone who really has, or I guess had, and continues to have, very high conviction in Kaspa. I think price action wise, it's been pretty disappointing, and I think disappointing depending on when you got in. I think a lot of the people who got in 2024 are probably like really pissed off about the fact that they did, because fundamentally, if you're talking about the next evolution in terms of ultrasound money, currency, Kaspa legitimately has everything. The developers are literally the best in the game. And what they've managed to accomplish and what they're trying to accomplish is, from a technical standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint, everything that we've asked for from a cryptocurrency, specifically a currency. Nowadays, we look at a crypto as something a lot different. We look at it for so many different things, but at the end of the day, for something that's just going to compete against the dollar and hopefully, fight inflation in a way where it becomes a piece of ultrasound money that, actually performs better than the S&P, maybe not Bitcoin, but that's the hope, right? If you're getting in here at 3 billion, is that this potentially could be a currency that outpaces Bitcoin in the long run. Now, that's hard to say. I think the main thing here is I went from having a significant amount of my portfolio back in 2024 once I re-entered the market in Kaspa to reducing it all the way down to 10% because I think right now it doesn't have the legs to continue higher. I think eventually that'll change, and I think a lot of what we see with Kaspa a lot of the time is when the rest of the market is not doing well, Kaspa seems to have its best moments. For example, when the rest of the market was literally bottoming out and had gone down 70 to 80%, that was perfectly coincided when Kaspa hit its all-time high. So I think this one is going to show its power and its strength over time. The community is amazing. The community keeps growing, and the amount of holders keep growing. So I think, again, this is a very organic, no marketing team, grassroots project. It's very, like, I describe it as like a funks or the cyberpunks. I don't know how to say it. Cypherpunks. I don't know. But like the OG crypto people love this project. And so the point is, over time, I think this is going to do well. I'll keep 10% in there for now, and we'll see where it goes. It's honestly holding up amazingly on this dip. It's only down like 2% in the last 2 days when the rest of the market has taken a big dip. So again, I think this could be a bottom for Kaspa, and that'll be great because it's 50% away from its all-time high, and I think it's an easy 2x from here if this is the bottom. But there's no saying. So yeah, I have to bring up Kaspa because I do really love the project. I think fundamentally it's great. It's not where I'm making my money right now, but I think I'll always come back to this one as long as it continues to do what it's doing. And yeah, I think we will see higher prices for Kaspa eventually.
Yeah, I know you are a Kaspa maxi. I'm going to throw that one back at you for calling me that for XRP. But only difference here is that XRP has done phenomenally these last few months here. But no, I'm joking. Dante, I know, got into this a long time ago, right? He did a 2-3x very easily on his initial investment. Personally, I think this project will do fine. I just think that there's better plays out there at the moment. Just kind of looking, you kind of sparked me, right? Looking back, I do remember when Kaspa was holding its ground, right? I think it actually pumped while the rest of the market went up. You want a project to look like that, right? That's always a great sign when people are buying that one project while everything else is kind of tanking. And that kind of brings me back to Sui, right? I'm looking over here at the 30-day and the 7-day chart. And the only thing that's green is Sui at the moment. 29.1% in the last 30 days, while everything else is down 20 to 30%. So that's really what you want to be looking at when you're coming into this market, right? What has done very, very well so far, and what has held those levels that it's gained, right? If it went from $1 to $2 and now it's back down to $1, right? Might not be the best thing to get involved in at the moment, but you obviously have to play it day by day, right? Kaspa is a great play. There's so many that we can talk about here on the channel. And as always, right, comment if you want to break down. We will definitely look into anything that you guys kind of post on these videos and include them in our next videos, as well as respond to your comments. So we're all about interaction, all about trying to give that insight into what our thoughts are on each of these projects. A little discrepancy, right? So I think Dante holds about 10 different coins and rotates in and out. I'm a little bit of a different trader, right? I hold probably upwards of about 40 to 50 at all times, right? Obviously, 70 to 80% of my portfolio is within my top 6 or 7 coins. But I do like to hold a lot of pieces of things that I think could launch just in case they do that 10, 20, 30x, right? I'm always taking those chances based off good information.
Yeah, and it's basically just, I think there's multiple ways to maximize your profit in this market. Depending on how long you've been around and like what your convictions are, it's going to look different for you, and there's no one way to do it. I think the main thing you guys can get from us is that we have opinions, and opinions that have come from experience and research. But obviously, at the end of the day, we're just two guys who are really interested in crypto and invest in it and put a lot of time and effort into it. And so we want to share what we think, and then obviously hear what you guys have to think as well. And again, hopefully, the podcast is actually something that you guys can follow along with and enjoy as time goes on. I know the flow of it will get better, and hopefully more entertaining and more enjoyable for you guys. But yeah, I think, Alex, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add. I think we're almost at 40 minutes here for our first pod, so I think we've covered a lot in this first one.
Yeah, I think covered basically most of my main points and where we're at right now, what I have conviction in. We can kind of get into smaller plays in our next video, things like CRV, CVX, LCX, or some plays that I really like. So if you're looking forward to some of that content, right, you want some more higher risk first reward, and why Dante and I are both kind of attacking both of these 3 projects, we'll definitely get into that as well. And then, like I said, if you have anything you want us to add on to, just post it, comment. We will get back to you, and we'll give a breakdown if we think it needs it.
100%. All right. 2 bros, 1 blockchain.
2 bros, 1 blockchain. Signing out.
Peace.